Hare Krishna, everyone, and welcome to our weekly discussion on Bhagavad Gita. Topic for today continues to be reflection versus reality. We started discussing this topic last Sunday. For some reason, we couldn't complete it. We had a good group discussion on some of the 10-point agenda that we had as to what we want and what we get in the world. So let's do a quick recap and then we move forward with the rest of the session. So we started with a brief overview of where we are in the where we are in the flow of Bhagavad Gita, the discussion of Bhagavad Gita that we have. So for sixth chapter, the progression of Bhagavad Gita is from Karma Yoga to Bhakti, and it culminates. It discusses various things, why and how karma can lead one's for one to purification. Eventually, uh, using buddhi, one can inquire, get some higher information, and ultimately can start performing bhakti towards the end of that section of Bhagavad Gita. And in between, we also discuss Dhyana Yoga section, where we where how a yogi try to control all his senses, mind, using mind control senses, and try to concentrate on meditate on the Lord within as a super soul within his heart, and how he derives pleasure, what is the samadhi stage, and so on and so forth. So after describing all this, Krishna concluded this section in the last verse of sixth chapter, where Krishna says that Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana shraddhavana bhajate yomam samay yukto tamamataha. That amongst all yogis, now karma yogi, buddhi yogi, jnana yogi, dhyana yogi, and any type of yogi, amongst all of them, bhakti yogi is the supreme. That is, he's the best. Why? Because he is intimately united with me. He is performing upasana. He is performing bhakti. श्रद्धावान भजते यो माम. जो श्रद्धा से मेरा भजन करते हैं, मेरी पूजा करते हैं, मुझे मेरी भक्ति करते हैं. Such a bhakti yogi is the best amongst all the yogis. That's with this section, Krishna take this theme forward. He expand on this knowledge and starts with Maya Sakta Mana Partha in the seventh chapter, first verse, where Krishna gives the objective that how you should get attached to me. And it all start with the process of hearing, and we will again today also we'll hear about we'll see what is the significance of hearing. Shrunu, tat shrunu. That shrunu, by hearing you will gain knowledge. By gaining knowledge, you will be free from doubts. By becoming free from doubts, you will be able to perform upasana, bhakti upasana, wholeheartedly, not without any doubt. And when you chant and perform the nine processes of devotional service wholeheartedly, you get attached to Krishna. You get attached to Krishna, and that's the objective. You fall in love with Krishna. You think of Krishna, man mana bhava. You think of Krishna all the time, and you perform bhakti wholeheartedly, and that's the process continuously that one has to follow. So this is, and then Krishna expands on this bhakti yoga section over six different chapters, say seven chapter, eight chapter, attaining the supreme, how we can attain Krishna. Now that is described in the eighth chapter. Ninth chapter is is a is a Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam, the king of all knowledge, is the most secret knowledge that Krishna is sharing in the ninth chapter. Tenth is again expands on that. 11th is universal form, and 20th 12th chapter is pure bhakti yoga. Now he almost concludes the discussion on bhakti, but one section of population is still unaddressed. Now Krishna comes here to establish dharma. Dharma is meant for everyone, because for every living entity there has to be some duty, and especially human form of life. We we have 4 lakh species within human form, and rest 80 lakh species are non-human forms. And amongst human form also, each section of society has to be addressed. When Krishna gives dharma, he must give dharma for everyone, so that everyone who has something or the other to follow, because everyone should be making some progress towards Krishna. And in order to address this section of community, who is a Gyani, who does not want to be sentimental, who does not want to who is considered to be, who consider themselves to be of intelligent class. They are not sentimental, they are fearless, they are they are not afraid of asking tough questions. They are ready to work hard on analysis. They want everything black and white. Now this section of people population who are considered to be Gyani Bhaktas, they are not pure devotees. Now they don't want to accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead so easily. And for them, for addressing them, Krishna speaks the rest of the Bhagavad Gita. The starting from 13th chapter, the address is not to a pure devotee. The address in this section of Bhagavad Gita is not to a person who is Sarva Bhavena Bharata, who is worshipping Krishna wholeheartedly, who wants to do Ananyas Chintayanto Mam, who wants to do Ananya Chetaha Satata Yomam Smrti Nityasha. Uh, all those things are meant for pure devotees, and those are already covered, those who have surrendered to Krishna already. Now these section of people are already covered, but now 13th chapter onwards, Krishna is going to address that class of population who are Gyanis. And and then on behalf of them, Arjuna start asking questions, and ask some very tough questions. So the things spoken in this section of Bhagavad Gita are not as simple as they were in the 9th chapter, or as simple as they were in the 8th chapter or 7th chapter, where Krishna simply says that Ananyas Chintayanto Mam, or Ananya Chetaha Satata Yomam Smrati Nityasha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha नित्य युक्त से योगी नाम की आप मेरा अनन्य अनन्य चेता हा सतत without deviation. If you remember me, that if you can smaran, if you can cultivate remembrance of me, then performing bhakti yoga is sulabha, very easy. Or in another verse, 10th, the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Ki agar satata yuktanam, always engage in the performing devotional service. How? Priti purvakam, bhajatam priti purvakam. If you perform devotional service with priti, with love, not resentment, with love, if you perform devotional service, tasyaham sulabha, then I will dadami buddhi yogam tvam yena mam upayantite. Krishna says, I will give them intelligence so that they can come to me. So these are these are all souls who are already surrendered to Krishna. Now they are not they've gone across they've crossed all the hurdles which stop one from surrendering to Krishna. And we will have a separate verse today which will see which are those hurdles which prevent us from surrendering to Krishna, and we'll discuss those. But now this section, but so there the instructions were very direct and very simple. But here the instructions and the whole discussion is little complex, because Gyanis like it that way. Gyanis don't like simple things. If they are very simple, then they are not meant for Gyanis. The Gyanis are those who are intellectual people. They consider themselves to be intellectual, separate from the rest of the society. Now they need to be spoken differently. So, and the whole discussion in this section of Bhagavad Gita is meant for Gyanis. But devotees can also learn and get a nectar out of it and learn a lot from it. So Arjuna begin this section by asking 6 questions. What is Prakriti? The nature, who is Purusha, the enjoyer. Kshetra, what is Kshetra? Then Kshetrajna, who is Kshetrajna? Then what is knowledge and what is object of knowledge? Now all these sections we discuss in the 13th chapter, and the bija vakya of Bhagavad Gita for the rest of the Bhagavad Gita is this, where Krishna says that पुरुषः प्रकृतिस्थो हि भुंक्ते प्रकृति जान गुणान कारण सवर्ण संगोस्य सत असत योनि जन्मसु. That sat asat, that higher and lower yoni means species of life, janmasu, take birth. Why? Because karana gunasangosya, because of their association with modes of material nature. Why one associate with modes of material nature? Because bhunkte prakriti jan guna, one is desirous of having a desire to enjoy using those in these three modes. Now, how does one enjoy three modes? One gets a desire to enjoy independently of Krishna. When where one has a conception that one can enjoy matter and get pleasure out of it, and then he's prakriti stohi. He is sent in the material world. He is bound in the material world. Purushaha is the living entity. Now, the living entity gets entangled or gets bound, uh, gets stuck with the material world because he has a desire to enjoy that matter. Karana saguna sangasya sad osada yoni janmaso. And then that is how he continuously takes birth in a different species of life. Now we spoke about this, that how this whole thing unfold. There's a desire to enjoy independently of Krishna, which is a root cause of our presence in the material world and suffering here. We are not only present here, we are also suffering. Even if there are no apparent sufferings, there is janma mrityu jara vyadhi, which is causing a lot of suffering to all of us, no matter who he is. As long as he is a living entity in this material world, he is suffering this from these four things, plus the adi devi, adhyatmic and adhyatmic kleshas, the three kleshas, and these four problems, real problems of life, though those are meant to be there for everyone. No matter he's a king or he's a beggar on the street, everyone suffer these seven kleshas. So based on our desires, we are, and the past fructified karma prarabdha, we are given body. Using our body, we act and incur fresh karma. The fresh karma leads to fresh fruits, and thereby we continuously wander in different species of life, birth after birth. This is called transmigration. As long as one continues to have a desire to enjoy independently of Krishna, this transmigration is permanent. There is no hope for such person to attain liberation. And to overcome this, Krishna says that you should take to the process of hearing Krishna Katha from authorities, hearing scriptures from authorities, from devotees who are practicing that those instruction. And don't just stop by hearing, also perform bhakti, also perform devotional service. So this is there in the 13.26th verse. So hearing hearing and chanting. uh, Parikshit Maharaj is an example of hearing, and Sukadev Goswami, who spoke Bhagavatam, uh, is an example of speaking or chanting. He spoke Krishna Katha. Parikshit Maharaj heard Krishna Katha attentively, and then attentively he asked questions in between. And not only he heard, everybody heard who was surrounded at that time on the bank of Ganges. Now, and Parikshit Maharaj also, later Prahlad Maharaj has also given the 9 processes of devotional service, naming Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, and Atma Nivedanam. So different 9 processes of bhakti using which we can surrender to Krishna. We can perform devotional service, practical devotional service to Krishna, and we can thereby purify ourselves, and gradually we can purify ourselves, and we can gradually surrender to Krishna. In the 14th chapter we discuss modes of material nature, and the three primary modes are described: sattva guna, rajaguna, tamoguna. Sattva guna is a is a is a is illuminating, being showing knowledge. One is in knowledge when he feels to be in superior knowledge than others, in Sattva here. They have skills better than others. They have talent better than others, and the sense of happiness is experienced by people in Sattva Guna because they are relatively free from sinful reactions. They don't really incur themselves into sinful actions. The knowledge and happiness are the binding forces for a Sattva person. Because they are knowledge, they are not ready to surrender to Krishna. Because they are happy, they are not prepared to surrender to Krishna, and thereby their hope for liberation becomes weak. Their so they remain entangled in the material world because of the knowledge and happiness bounds them. The knowledge which is considered to be otherwise good, but the knowledge of material world using which they are able to derive better facilities for sense enjoyment becomes the bondage for them, because of which they become reluctant to inquire about liberation and do things which can help them liberate, that is surrender to Krishna and perform devotional service. At times this becomes a problem for a Sattvaguni person. What is the definition of success for a Sattvaguni person? It is good character, having knowledge, realization, and sense control, mind control, freedom from sinful actions. These are characteristics of a Sattvaguni person. A Sattvaguni person will value these things in his life, and he will value these things in other people's life as well. Versus contrast to this are the Rajoguni and Tamoguni person. Or Rajoguni person is busy working, trying hard for getting more, and this desire, this trishna to get more, is when it is directed to opposite sex, it become lust, so they are lusty. And when it is directed to things of this material world, they become greedy. So either they are lusty or they are greedy. They're always hankering to get more, so they are always active. They're always trying, going here, going there, having all kind of plans to achieve more. And whatever they possess, they are fearful of losing that. So they are extremely attached to what they possess. So they are fearful, they are greedy, they are always hankering for more. So they are not happy, because one is not peaceful, one cannot become ashantasya kutham sukham. If one is not able to experience peace, uh, if one is not peaceful, one can never become happy. So Rajoguni person who is always trying to get more, always hankering for more, always attached to what he possesses, fearful of losing what one possesses, cannot become happy. He does not experience much happiness. Even if he has everything in the world, he is still experience unhappiness. What are the binding forces for a Rajoguni person? It is material creative actions. So he's always bound by actions. He's always wanting to do something, and never that action, creative actions for some getting something, attaining some result, becomes keeps him bound in the material world. So he never has time to listen to the scripture. He never find time to uh, go and visit a temple and associate with devotees, understand the philosophy, and understand the purpose of life. They keep flapping around and then they leave their bodies without achieving much. And that becomes very unfortunate exit for such a Rajoguni person. Improving quality and quantity of facility for eating, mating, sleeping, defending is their definition of success. So if a Rajoguni person wants to know whether if somebody's life is successful, then this is the yardstick which they will use to evaluate whether such person has lived his life successfully or not. So if he started with one home, if he at the moment of death, if he has two homes, three homes, then a Rajoguni person will consider that life to be successful. Otherwise it is unsuccessful. They have less weightage. They for value for good character, good knowledge, realizations, sense control, mind control is low for a Rajoguni person. He may not really put appropriate value to such qualities. If one possesses such qualities, they may not be able to appreciate those qualities, because end of the day they'll say that they will ask question that how much more you achieved, how much more you could earn in and how much more facilities that you could add to your your household, that is their measure of success. So they will not really value sense control, they will not value mind control. They'll say it's wasteful activity. Freedom from sinful actions, they'll not consider that to be very important. Somebody is experiencing happiness, they will say that's useless. If you have to have more. Now that is driving a force for a rajoguni person. A tamoguni person wants to give pleasure to one's own body and senses for personal happiness. Born out of ignorance lead to deeper ignorance. Alcoholic person think that alcohol, there is a power capacity in alcohol to give him freedom from his worry, and then with this knowledge he actually drink alcohol to forget his worry, and so takes him to into deeper ignorance, and becomes mad and indolence. Lazy becomes lazy and wants to sleep all the time. um, Now alcoholic person may initially start with small quantity, eventually start consuming large quantity, eventually may spend all his earning on alcohol, eventually start borrowing for money for to fulfill his desire of drinking alcohol, and eventually may commit crime in order to continue drinking alcohol, and just way just mess up one's own life in this kind of in this indulgence. So that's the tamoguni person. That's uh, and then the characteristics, the binding forces for tamoguni person are laziness and sleep. And if they, what is their definition of success? If they get what they want to eat and they get a lot of time to sleep, that is success of life for them. And versus all this, we have a shuddha sattva or a devotee. Now devotee has a devotee for a devotee, the motivation is to please Krishna, is to give pleasure to Krishna, to make Krishna happy, to do something which will bring them closer to Krishna, to do something for Krishna. They are, all their actions are performed for the pleasure of Krishna. Hence, one experiences unlimited happiness, satisfaction, and freedom. Freedom, they are not worried. They may, so Prabhupada created magic, but he was never stressed. He was never stressed because it was all for done for Krishna. So he would take big here when he moved mountains. We converted Americans into devotees. He made them brahmanas, make them Sanskrit editors. He made them, and all those people who were few years ago hippies, who they were sleeping on the street, they were littering on the street, they were not taking bath for ages, and they were they're just not smoking cigars, they were smoking all kind of drugs, and you would be always under the control and influence of alcohol all the time. And such people became Sanskrit editors, such people became perfect brahmanas, become vegetarian, gave up all their started following four regulative principles. They gave up, what to speak of meat eating, they gave up onion garlic, they gave up tea coffee, they gave up alcohol, they gave up smoking, they gave up all kind of things and became brahmanas. They become attained brahmanas because Prabhupada could do all this because he wanted to please Krishna. He wanted to make his spiritual master happy, who wanted to make Chaitanya Mahaprabhu happy. So they didn't work for out of their personal motivation. So whatever they did, whatever successes they attained, were all attributed to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his guru. So they were always happy, whatever the outcomes of their actions were. They were always wanting to serve Krishna in a better way, but they were never unhappy, they were never distressed. So Prabhupada was asked that, do you have any desire, do you have any, towards the end of his life, and then he said he has no desire, and he has no last wish. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita towards the end, 18th chapter, the na shochati na kangshati, Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kangshati. And Prabhupada attained that state. He had no regrets, no, he was in a perfect condition to leave body and go back to Krishna. So binding force for a Siddha Sattva person in Shuddha Sattva is no binding force, because the entire work is done for pleasing Krishna. So it is Krishna's problem whether to give success or not to a devotee, or when to give success. That is not devotee's problem, it's Krishna's problem. So Krishna has to create magic in order for make devotees successful. So it's not the devotee who is worried of success, it is Krishna's care. Krishna has to worry with how and when to give success to devotee, and to make sure that all his plans for rendering service to Krishna are fulfilled. So he's no more bothered. Definition of success for a Shuddha, for a devotee, is how much he is attached to Krishna, then how much he is attached to the resources of this world, how much he is dependent on Krishna. That is the definition of success. How much he has sacrificed for Krishna. Now these are the definitions of success for a devotee. These are all we discussed, hence we are going through this very quickly. The modes of material nature and bhakti. It is said that if one has to overcome the modes of material nature, one should perform bhakti. One should become a devotee and start performing bhakti. And the problem is in bhakti is that what stops a person from performing good bhakti is also modes of material nature. When they are overcome, when they are overtaken by the modes of material nature, they become unsteady in bhakti. They become they stop performing bhakti. They become uncommitted. They remain uncommitted in performance of bhakti. They give up performing bhakti. They take a pause, so-called, from devotional service. They stop chanting. They stop hearing. They stop visiting temples, and all this happens because they are overcome by the modes of material nature, because they are overcome by the desires for sense enjoyment and which they get under different modes of material nature. So modes of material nature kind of prevents a person from performing continuous devotional service. And if one has to overcome these modes, one should perform bhakti. Now, what is the way out? The way out is, this is given in the last section of Bhagavad Gita, 14 chapter 26th and 27th was, they are the last verses, that one should engage oneself in full devotional service, unfailing, very important word. Satata kirtayanto mam, we hear that, that always we should be performing devotional service. No holidays in performance of devotional service. No holidays for chanting. No holidays for deity worship. No holidays for in hearing Krishna Katha. It should be continuously done. It should be done every day. It should be done every moment if possible. But whatever it is there, it has to be a continuous activity. It is not a occasional activity. It is not to be done on on Janmashtami to Janmashtami. It has to be done every day. It is everyday business. So and one unfailing devotional service in all circumstances. Even if you are in hospital, you should be chanting. That's why you need devotee friends who will remind you of these duties of yours. When somebody is in hospital, others will say aram karo, a devotee will say chant karo. चैंट करो, कुछ नहीं तो सुनो, चैंटिंग मशीन प्ले करो और सुनो, because all your senses are active and you have no other work. Why you waste time? It's the best time to chant. Prabhupada has written in later to one of the devotee that he was in hospital and he said, now you have very little disturbances and very little distraction, so please try and chant as much as you can during your stay in the hospital. And that's not untrue. One has to make most of one's time available on this planet, and we don't know when is our time up. So whichever circumstances we are in, whichever condition we are in, we should perform devotional service. And hearing hearing and chanting is the easiest way in which we can remain engaged in Krishna's remembrance. So that's the instruction by Krishna in the 14th and 26th verse. And then he says that you will attain Brahman by doing this. And then he says, I am the basis of impersonal Brahman. That impersonal Brahman, which is nothing but effulgence of light coming out of my body. Now I am the basis. Because I exist, because I'm there, the effulgence which comes out of my body is there. That effulgence does not have independent standing. So anybody, the Jnana yogi who is desirous of entering into that effulgence, this is a warning for them, because he's saying that that effulgence is there because I am there, and I am the basis of that effulgence. If I were not to be there, the effulgence would not have existed independently. That effulgence definitely is supreme because it is coming from me. Whatever is connected with Krishna is supreme, but that supremacy is there as long as it has a connection with Krishna. We are also soul, we are one in quality and small in quantity, but our quality is also there. Our superiority over matter is also there as long as we are connected with Krishna. The moment we get disconnected with Krishna, we become useless, and that's the reality. so so what is the way out? The way out is that start performing bhakti from whichever place you are. So अगर मोड से ऊपर उठना है तो आपको भक्ति करनी चाहिए, और मोड्स ही आपको भक्ति करने से प्रिवेंट करते हैं. सो इसका रास्ता बाहर का क्या है कि आप जहां हो वहां से जैसे हो, डोंट हैव टू वेट फॉर यू टू ओवरकम मोड्स. आप तमोगुण में हो, रजोगुण में हो, सत्वगुण में हो, आप सुनिए, आप कथा सुनिए, कृष्ण कथा सुनिए और भक्ति कीजिए, चैंटिंग कीजिए, वर्शिप कीजिए, विजिट कीजिए धाम को, नमस्कार कीजिए कृष्ण को, मन मना भव मद भक्तो मद याजी माम नमस्करो, कुछ भी कीजिए, बट परफॉर्म, स्टार्ट परफॉर्मिंग डिवोशनल सर्विस फ्रॉम विच एवर प्लेस यू आर. You might not be in the ideal place, you might not be in very ideal circumstances, you might not be in a very good condition. That does not matter. So wherever you are, whichever place you are, whichever circumstances you are in, start performing bhakti. Bhakti is simple: hearing and chanting and remembering, cultivating remembrance of Krishna. Now, and that will ensure that you will eventually progress. Even if you are in the darkest gunas, you will progress to higher gunas, and ultimately you will become devotee. That's the guarantee Krishna is giving. We discuss first verse of 15th chapter. Urdhva moolam adha shakham ashwatham prahura avyayam chandansi yasya parnani yasyam veda sa vedavit. The Krishna is speaking about a tree which is upside down. This is a metaphor very clearly. He's not talking about actual tree. Now this is the Jnana section, and Jnani is like discussion to be done in this manner. A Jnani would love to hear and debate on things. They speak in terms of metaphors. So if it's too direct, satata kirtayanto mam yatantascha drudavrata namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. This is a very straight and simple instruction. Now, this may not interest a Jnani. He may think this is for less intelligent people, and hence Krishna, if you would have noticed that all these verses are metaphoric verses, are saying something but meaning something else, and that's what makes this section very different from rest of the Bhagavad Gita, but very interesting one, very sweet one. Now this is an example. Krishna is speaking of a metaphor, that Krishna is speaking of a tree whose mula or whose roots are upwards, urdhva, going upwards, and shakha are going adha are going downwards. Now branches of tree generally go upwards, so this is not a tree that we generally can see in the material world. So it's a metaphoric tree. And what are the other specialities of this tree? Ashwatham. What is this tree? This is like a banyan tree. Ashwatham prahura avyayam. This is imperishable tree. And chandans yasya parnani. Yasya parnani are its leaves. Unke parna hai. Kya hai? Chanda. Chanda matlab verses from Vedas. Now Vedic hymns are the leaves of this tree. And yastam veda savedavid. Yastam veda means is pure tree ko jo janta hai, such person is Vedavid, knower of the Vedas. So knower of the Vedas, knowledge is not enough for knower to know the verses from Vedas. The whole tree should be known and then only one can call himself a Vedavit or the knower of the Vedas. Now, this is very beautifully explained by Srila Prabhupada. All purports in this section are very beautiful. So my request to you all is please read all these purports. So everything is very simply put explained by Srila Prabhupada, and without any, even though the no matter the how difficult the chapter is, Prabhupada has made it extremely simple, and we have simply taken paragraphs from the purports itself. Nothing more to be added, no need. It's also simple. So the entanglement of this material world is compared here to a banyan tree, and for one who is engaged in fruitive activities, there is no end to the banyan tree. Very significant statement that the root cause of all problem is our desire to enjoy independently of Krishna. And Krishna says, as long as one has a desire to enjoy, one will continue its fruitive activities, because action done with a intent to get some fruit is a fruitive action. And donation given so that I can get some sukriti, because with sukriti I can get some higher facility for enjoyment. Now all these are all fruitive actions. Now they are not devotional action, even though they are connected with God in some way. But initially one may perform this action, but eventually one should purify oneself and come to the level of pure devotional service. At least this migration, this transition has to happen. If one remains in this level of performing actions for some benefit, personal benefit, personal sense and sensory benefit, then one remains, then for such person there is no end to the banyan tree. What it means is this material existence is never going to end for such a person. So the such person will remain forever in the material existence. And what will he do? He will wander from one branch to another. And the tree of this material world has no end, and for one who is attached to this tree, there is no possibility of liberation. What does this tree signifies? It's a material existence. As long as we have a desire to stay in the material world, why would one wants to stay in material world? Because one will have desire to enjoy independently of Krishna. One wants to um, enjoy matter. One thinks that the happiness can be derived by enjoying matter. And as long as one has this possibility, uh, without without any connect, so only happiness we can derive is by connecting with Krishna. When we enter Krishna, when we enter temple, we experience happiness. When we take darshan of Lord, we experience happiness. When we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we experience happiness. When we chant, when we sing Kirtan, along with all devotees and dance in that Kirtan, we experience happiness. When we honor Prasad, when we take Prasad, we experience happiness. But just by being in connection with devotees, just by getting associated with devotees, we experience happiness. Now this happiness is not these are not the things of this of which are there in the temple that gives us happiness. They it is Krishna, connection with Krishna, which gives which gives happiness, real happiness. And a devotee understand this aspect, and therefore he wants to cultivate this aspect more and more in his life, so that he can become more and more happy. One who is not aware of this knowledge will want to derive similar happiness from matters of this world: a phone, a TV, a bigger home, a bigger car, a faster car, a different job, of vacation outside India or within India, or eating some food stuff, watching something, seeing things, enjoying senses. Now, this is the conception that by doing this, one will become happy. And here, by connecting with Krishna, one tries to become happy, and one actually becomes happy. The Vedic hymns are meant for elevating oneself. Conversation of Narad Muni and Vyasdev. Vyasdev was morose, very unhappy. Narad Muni reminds that you created facility for sense enjoyment. How can you become happy? And how can those who are using this knowledge also become happy? So give them something which can give them permanent happiness. And then Vyasdev wrote Bhagavatam. But Vyasdev did mention to Narad Muni that he expected all humans to progress gradually towards Krishna. Uh, because dharma, artha, kama, moksha is not to just get stuck with kama, just get fatigued by kama and seek moksha. But he says that Narad Muni warns him that that may not happen. So you have to create them a facility by which they can directly approach liberation. They can directly approach Krishna. What if people just get entangled in one sense enjoyment after another? iPhone 10 के बाद 11 बाद 12 के बाद 13 के बाद 14, and I don't know how many more will come. So one will keep evolving. Keep this asha pash is never ending. You don't actually get happiness, but you have a asha, you have a hope that you will get happiness. Now this hope keeps us bound, keeps us entangled in the material world, does not let us seek higher happiness, does not let us seek where I can get liberation from, how I can escape the cycle of birth. They don't leave any space in our mind to think of these topics, and hence we remain entangled practically permanently in the material world. So knowledge of this tree is necessary to be able to get out of it. Now, Prabhupada says that the attachment, the knowledge is the basic principle of devotional service is detachment from material activities and attachment to transcendental service of the Lord. Now, the focus in Bhakti section is on attachment to Krishna, not so much on about detachment. But Karma Yogi, Dhyana Yogi, and Jnana Yogi all are talking about detachment, reject, control senses, control mind, reject matters of sense enjoyment, and focus, control your mind, control your senses, control your intelligence. Now, this control, or reject, or detach. This is one way of withdrawing oneself from the material world. Another way which devotee use is definitely there is detachment that even devotees practice, but devotees practice focus more on attachment to Krishna and using everything that they have in service to Krishna. Now, though there's a difference in the motivation, there's a difference in the approach, which makes devotee devotion bhakti easier than other things. Dhyana yogi wants to reject the world, go into the Himalayas, and sit in a secluded place, meditate on the Lord within his heart. That's all great. That's all my sound. Practice brahmacharya, very strict vows of brahmacharya, and perform a lot of austerities, and all that may sound great if somebody is able to do even 50% of those activities. Can become can become very proud of his. He has every reason to be proud of what he has achieved, but that is very difficult. That makes his task very difficult, bhakti very difficult. Whereas a devotee does not reject anything. He uses everything in service of God. He uses his home, converts it into temple, brings deities of Lord, offer bhoga to Lord, and take prasad. Of every household will eat food. Every person will want to eat food at the end of the day or during the day. But a devotee will offer it to a picture of Lord and take it as a prasad. So the motivation is change and the outcome is change drastically. A slight change in the motivation brings a drastic change in the outcome, because then his eating becomes karma free. But whereas a person who is in all the three yogas, the karma yogi, dhyana yogi, jnana yogi, everybody's eating is sinful because he's not offered it to Krishna. But a devotee's eating is transcendental. It is free from karma. It is bhakti. Even honoring prasad, lunch prasad and dinner prasad also is bhakti. Is sleeping also bhakti. He's in Mayapur, even if one sleeps, it's considered to be paying obeisances. And so all activities done by devotees actually gives him spiritual benefits, spiritual results. Whereas all activities done by a materialist really gives him fruits of karma, a fresh karma, and though they keep him bound in the material world. So the process of breaking attachment to the material world is discussed at the beginning of this chapter. So we see that the this reflection of the spiritual world is situated on the desire, just as trees reflection is situated on water. Desire is the cause of things being situated in the material world. We discuss this thing 10 this 10 things that how what is the reality, what is it that we want, and what is it that what we get in the material world. We want eternal happiness, we get flickering happiness. We want peace of mind, we get mind in pieces, and so on and so forth. The love, we want love, we get hate. Permanent, we want everything to be permanent, but everything is temporary in the material world. We want order in the material world, we get chaos. We want trust, we get betrayal. Want good health, we get, but we have diseases in the material world. We want prosperity for everyone, but we have poverty for most in the material world. We always want youth, but we are forced to accept old age. We want eternal life, but we have death. In short, in simple words, we have we have we want eternity knowledge. The Satchit Ananda, the soul by nature is Satchit Ananda. Sat means eternal, Chit means knowledgeable, and bliss, Ananda means blissful. Now soul is searching for these three things in this material world, and he's because these are innate to a soul, because a soul will always be him in the body of a frog or a rat or a cat or a dog. The eternity is a feature that he's aware of. So even if you try to kill a frog, it will try to escape. It will try to live as long as he can. Same goes for a dog, same goes for a cat, because, and same goes for humans also. Nobody wants to die, and that's because it's the eternal nature of the soul. The soul is actually eternal. So for a soul, death which it experiences is a foreign event, because soul actually does not die. Soul knows that he is eternal, but because he is attached to the body, he experiences death, even though there is no death for him. It's just like how people experience death. Somebody watching movie, if he's engrossed in watching movie, and the character that with whom he's associating, when that person dies, this person start crying in the cinema hall. Now nothing has gone wrong with this person. Now because of the attachment to that character on the played on the screen, and that character is dying, seeing him die on the screen, this person start experiencing the pain and he starts crying. now now that's exactly what happens when a soul experience change of body. And the because of the attachment to the body, even soul feels that they are dying. So the desire to live eternally is innate to a soul, but what we get is everything temporary. Everything is temporary. It's not false, but it is temporary. Knowledge, soul always wants to have knowledge, but what we get is lack of knowledge, or agyana. Why agyana? Even though the the sending rockets to space is considered to be great knowledge, a great breakthrough in the scientific world, but it is not done with an intent to find out Krishna. It is done with an intent to provide superior entertainment by various channels to the world. Now that is agyana, because it's not taking you closer to Krishna ultimately. And no matter how sophisticated that knowledge is, it is actually agyana, because it is not going to be helpful for liberation. It is not speaking about Krishna. It is not taking one closer to Krishna. So no matter how sophisticated that agyana could be, that knowledge could be, it's ultimately agyana. It's useless for liberation. So one soul is always seeking knowledge, but what it gets in the material world is agyan. And soul is always seeking happiness or blissfulness or ananda, but one gets suffering and lamentation because of our attachment to the matter. We don't have to suffer, but we suffer because we are attached to the matter. Similar to a situation where a person watching movie in the theater, air conditioned theater hall, doesn't have to suffer, doesn't have to cry, but it cry because of his attachment to the character who is suffering on the screen. Now the character is suffering on the screen, and here the person is crying, who is perfectly in the otherwise in a perfect condition. So that's what happens because of our attachment. This one, which we had seen this, that the reflection, if we want to keep looking at reflection, then we will never perceive original object. So in order to see reflection, we have to turn our eyes away from the original object. And same is true, if we want to look at our original object, we have to turn our eyes away from the reflection. If we keep watching at reflection, we will never be able to perceive original object. And hence we need to turn our back towards reflection, and then we will be able to face towards the original object. So similarly, we need to turn our back to the material world and face towards Krishna. That's how we will go towards Krishna. Ashwatha means banyan tree. We had not seen this. The Ashwatha means also has a meaning that Ashwatha, tha is three. A horse standing on three leg is also called Ashwatha. It is said that the material world is one fourth Vibhuti or Ekapada Vibhuti, and the spiritual world is a Tripada Vibhuti, is a three-fourth of the entire creation, the spiritual world and the material world. And that's why the example of horse also becomes significant. Krishna further explains that अधोश्च ऊर्ध्वं प्रसुत तस्य शाखा गुण प्रवृद्धा विषय प्रवालः अधश्च मूलान अनुसंततानि कर्मानुबंधिनी मनुष्य लोके. Very sweet, very beautiful verses. Adhascha urdhvam prasuta tasya shakha. Shakha hai. Now Krishna is explaining this tree further, that the branches of this tree are, so not only the tree is upside down, not only that tree has roots going upwards and branches going downwards. Branches don't only go downwards, branches also go from down, also they go upwards, and they go further downwards also. Adharscha urdhva, they go upwards as well as downward. Within the downward trajectory also, some branches are moving upwards, some branches are moving, remaining parallel, and some branches are moving downwards. So there is a movement of branches. Prasuta tasya shakha. Prasuta is expanding, extend. So the branches of this tree extend downwards and upwards, and they are nourished by what? By the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the object of senses, and the tree also has roots going down. And so now initially the description was the urdhva moolam. Now Krishna is saying that this tree, some of the roots of this tree are also going downwards. So this in all, one should understand that this tree is extremely complicated to understand. It's not easy to know this tree. Now, but and Krishna says that karmanubandhini manushya loke. The karmanubandhini manushya loke. Manushya loke uh, is the human, is the loka where human beings are there, the martya loka, or the bhuloka where human beings are dwelling. So the tree also has its roots going down and upwards or downwards, and they are bound to the fruitive actions of the human society. Prabhupada explains in the purport that description of banyan tree is further explained. Branches spread all directions. Tree is nourished by water. That's water is three modes of material nature. And so in the next verse, Prabhupada has combined two verses, very important verses. न रूपमस्येह तथोपलभ्यते न अंतो न च आदिर्न न च संप्रतिष्ठा अश्वत्थ मेनम सुविरूढ़ मूल असंग शस्त्रेण दृढ़ेन चित्वा ततः पदम तत्परिमार्गतव्यम यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूयः तमेव चाद्यम पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यतः प्रवृत्ति प्रसुता पुराणी. Again, very important shloka, very sweet verses. So Krishna is now, this is a translation. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with a weapon of detachment. So it's not now one. It is one thing that in the previous verse it was said that this is Manushya Loke. This is that Manushya Loke is a very important word from the previous word which we need to bring in here, because this facility of cutting down the tree is available only in the Manushya Loke. And in the Manushya Loke is where in the human species of life is where we are responsible for our karma more than anywhere else. In the demigods, in the Swarga, Swarga also, the those who reside there are responsible when they perform something horrible act against for example sons of Kuvera offended Narad Muni. They were disrespectful in front of Narad Muni. They so they acted with a lot of arrogance and improperly with Narad Muni, and they were cursed. So it's not that actions performed in Swarga are karma completely karma free, but in Swarga Loka people have relatively larger freedom than what we possess in Martya Loka. I mean, Martya Loka, we practically have no freedom. It's like we are all shackled by the chains, and those with those gunas are so strong that they force us to act in multiple ways, much against at times against our desires. So what what Krishna is saying is that it is true that so that this Martya Loke, in Martya Loke, in the Manushya Loke, you have this ability to exercise your free will in such a way that you can cut down the tree and exit from the cycle of birth. Now, this facility exists only in the Manushya Loke. That's why at times even those who are residents of Swargaloka also wants to appear in the on the earth, on the Bhuloka, so that they can perform devotional service and end the cycle of birth, which is applicable to them also. So Krishna is saying that this real form of tree cannot be understood. Like this is something similar to what Krishna has said for karma also, that Gahana Karmanogati. When Krishna says Gahana Karmanogati, is saying that it is very difficult to understand intricacies of karma. Similarly, Krishna is saying that understanding this tree is not the objective of your life fully. So fully understanding the tree, instead of understanding the tree, instead of trying to figure out how you can be happy in this material world, he's saying get out of this material world. Don't figure out, just get out. That's the instruction. And how? By using the weapon of detachment, asanga shastrena dhrudena chitva. Therefore one must seek that place from which having gone one never returns, and there he surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began, and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. So again, so the first verse tell us that this banyan tree has a suvirudha moolam, has very strongly rooted. So you asanga shastrena dhrudena chitva. Asanga, the weapon of detachment, you destroy these desires. The suvirudha moolam. Mula is the root, and the root is in our desire for enjoyment. And those are not shallow, those are very deeply rooted. So it's not easy to get rid of this tree, overcome this tree. But Krishna is saying that asanga shastrena dhrudena chitva, that detachment, the weapon of detachment, or using the weapon of detachment, you can destroy the tree. Now the detachment is comes from knowledge, comes from bhakti. So the knowledge and detachment are the children of bhakti. If anybody who perform bhakti nicely, the knowledge and detachment are the byproducts, are automatically they will manifest. One doesn't have to try hard to get those. And what does then one has to do, which is explained in the next verse, where in the fourth verse Krishna says that tatah padam tat parimargatavyam yasmin gatana nivartanti bhuyaha. That padam once one will achieve, yasmin gata, having gone there, na nivartanti bhuyaha. The living entity does not have to come back. Na nivartanti, it doesn't have to come back. And that pada, that abode, once you achieve, what it is not the end of the day. That's not the success, ultimate for success for the jiva. Having gone to a place from where one does not have to return is not the end of the journey. There, after having reached that place also, Tameva Chadyam Purusham Prapade. You have to figure out, you have to find out that Purusha and surrender to him. Tameva Chadyam Purusham Prapadye. Prapadye is to go and surrender to such a Purusha. Um, who's that Purusha? What are his qualities, or can you recognize such Purusha? Such Purusha is the one Yatah Pravrutti Prasuta Purani. That Prasuta Purani, Pravrutti is the whole universe has been created by him, and he is very, very old. There is nobody older than him. Everything has manifested out of him. And such a Purusha, Krishna has said that Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Matta Sarvam Pravartate. So he's already explained that in the Bhakti section. But for a Jnani, this is a new information. And so he has to now understand who is that person who has created this whole universe. And because of Matta Nat, uh, Krishna also says in the Mattaha, so there is no truth superior to me. There is no truth higher than me. Matah parataram na anyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. Similarly, in the 10.8, Krishna says that that aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. Now these are the revelations which have already happened in the Bhagavad Gita for a devotee, but for a jnani, he has to, Krishna is making it as a third person's reference. Eventually he will say that that person is me. In the same chapter he will say that that person is me. Prabhupada writes a very beautiful purport for this section, for this verse, that it is now clearly stated that the real form of this banyan tree cannot be understood in this material world. Therefore, one should not waste time to figure out, but simply get out of this material world. So when entangled with the material expansions of the tree, one cannot see how far the tree extends, nor can one see the beginning of this tree, no adyam, no anta. So the beginning also, or the beginning and the end. Now similar expression Arjuna has used when he was describing Virata Rupa, that there is no adya, there is no beginning, there is no middle, there is no end to your Swarupa, Virata Rupa, or the universal form of Krishna. And similar description is there applicable for this banyan tree, because our desire to enjoy matter is so deep rooted, and it has been going on for so many millions and billions of years, that why we have no idea how complicated the whole piece is, the whole thing is. And hence Krishna is advising that don't try to figure it out, don't try to figure out one by one where my problem lies. Just accept to Krishna, just surrender to Krishna. And Prabhupada gives an example that if you wondered, I am the son of my father is son of such and such person, etc. And by searching in this way, one comes to Brahma, who is generated by Gorbhodakshai Vishnu. And finally, in this way, one may reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the end of research work. But as you can understand, this research work is not easy. So and can take considerable amount of time. It's not easy, and will definitely not finish in one lifetime, and hence in the next lifetime you may not have any remembrance of having done such a research, so we may have to start all over again. So practically the end of this tree practically becomes unachievable unless we get some help from somebody who is uh, who is not from this arena of who is not from this area, who is above this area. It's like somebody is in the whale, inside a whale, gets help from somebody who is outside the whale, who is ready to pull him out. And similarly, we can get this help from Lord himself, who has given this knowledge in form of scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. And devotees are those who are ready to share that knowledge with us for our benefit, so that we can easily get pulled out of this deep dark well of material existence. The one has to search out that origin of this tree, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the association of person who are in knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why they become in knowledge? Because Krishna gives them that knowledge. Dadami buddhi yogam tvam yenamam upayantite. So Krishna gives that knowledge to his devotees. Therefore, devotees are special. Devotees are not special because they have done something extraordinary, because Krishna has given them, shown special mercy on them. Therefore they are able to propagate Krishna's business. It is Krishna's business, yena mam upayantite, by which everybody can come to Krishna, is Krishna's business. It's Krishna's work. And devotee not only practice what he's preaching, but also is helping other souls to come closer to Krishna. And therefore they are associates of Krishna, they are extensions of Krishna. So they are in the Krishna's army, they are part and parcel of Krishna's army, and hence they get special anukampa from Krishna. And hence when hear from such a devotee is as good as hearing from Krishna. Then by understanding, one becomes gradually detached from the false reflection of reality, and by knowledge one can cut off the connection, actually becomes situated in the real tree by knowledge. So bhakti, if one perform bhakti, the knowledge and detachment are its byproducts. Very easily they will be manifested. The word asanga is very important in this connection, because the attachment for sense enjoyment and lording it over the material nature is very strong. Now it's not just asanga shastra, dhrudena chitva. Now therefore one must learn detachment by discussion of spiritual science based on authoritative scriptures, and one must hear from persons who are actually in knowledge. As a result of such a discussion in the association of devotee, one comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then then the first thing one must do, if when one reaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what it's not end of the road. If one, a devotee who has surrendered to Krishna when he is while he is in the material world, just hold on. Hare Krishna. So devotee surrenders to Krishna while he is operating in the material world. But a Jnani will have to surrender to Krishna when he reaches the supreme world. But he is not surrendered, and by with great difficulty, even if he reaches, if he reaches the the Vaikuntha, there he has to go and surrender to Krishna again. So, and so the difficulty in the Jnana Yoga is actually brought out. Prabhupada explained everything with the with the perspective of bhakti. But a Jnana Yoga, for a Jnani, it's impossible for him to reach the destination first. And after reaching the destination, it's not end of the day. It's there also, one has to go and surrender to Krishna. So Brahmawadis especially, who are desirous of going to the effulgence, going to the Brahma Jyoti, and they hope that they will go and merge there in the Brahma Jyoti, but they also have a task there, because once they go there, Krishna says, I am the basis of that Brahman, that effulgence light is, I am the basis. So you have to come and surrender to me there. So one who has not surrendered to Krishna during one's own lifestyle has to do that after reaching that stage. One has much against one's own conceptions that I don't have to surrender. I can still be perfect my life. I can still attain the light and I will be happy there. Krishna says, no, you have to go there and surrender to me, surrender to the Purusha, that from whom everything has emanated. And Krishna has already said that Purusha is me. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original root from whom everything has emanated. To gain the favor of that personality of Godhead, one has only to surrender. And this is the result of performing devotional service by hearing, chanting, etc. He is the cause of the extension of the material world. This has already been explained by the Lord himself. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. I am the origin of everything. Therefore, to get out of the entanglement of this strong banyan tree of material life, one must surrender to Krishna. As soon as one surrenders to Krishna, one becomes detached automatically in this material extension. So Prabhupada is saying, don't have to do that at the end of the by going into the Brahma Jyoti. You can do it today itself. Might as well do it now and become and live happily and then liberate. Go back to Krishna. Don't have to take the difficult path when the easy path is available and giving the same result. Or again, the surrender part is explained again elaborately by Krishna. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha dvaindar vimukta sukha dukha sanye yachantya mudham padav avyayanta gachantya mudhaha padam avyayantat. Now, nirmana moha jita sanga dosha. Now, these are all qualities. Krishna says that any who can surrender to Krishna. And what are the qualities should be there in a person who is surrendering, who is prepared to surrender to Krishna? So those are explained in this verse. Nirmana moha, those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are free from dualities of happiness and distress, and who unbewildered know how to surrender unto the Supreme Lord, Supreme Person, attain that eternal kingdom. Padam avyayam tat. Now the three places Prabhupada has explained that the surrendering process is described here very nicely. The first qualification is that one should not be deluded by the pride, because the conditioned soul is puffed up, thinking himself the lord of material nature. It is very difficult for him to surrender unto Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he is not the lord of material nature, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord. When one is free from delusion caused by pride, one can begin the process of surrender. So the pride is due to illusion. Now, the pride and illusion. Now, we can think of people who are finding it difficult to surrender to Krishna. And one reason Krishna says is the pride, nirmana moha. Now, this pride um, comes from where? Comes from what? What is the origin of this pride? Or why is somebody struggle to surrender to Krishna? Because of the pride. The pride is with regard to what? Yeah, I mean, this is the question. So let's discuss that. So there are this is pride is said. Krishna says that if one has pride, one will not uh, be able to surrender to Krishna. Then illusion that the world is going to give me enjoyment. Because of that, Krishna, nobody is going to be able to surrender to Krishna. So these are some of the characteristics. So can somebody explain why pride comes into play? Why one becomes proud at all in the material world?
Pride is probably pride is the ego of the person, and uh, he's at one platform he's comparing himself with Lord Krishna. So it becomes a stumbling block in surrendering to Krishna, because pride
Okay.
develops from envy towards Krishna. So that becomes a stumbling block.
Pride can also develop from achievement. One has
Yes,
achievement, and then so when you achieve something on your own, it's obvious that there will be pride.
pride.
So what is it that is missing in this?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Uh, when a person is achieving anything in material life, maybe position, maybe money, maybe power, maybe some material thing in the world to enjoy, he is thinking that he has achieved on his knowledge or his business growth or his own hard work. But in that case, he just missed out one element, that all the knowledge or beauty or position which I have is because of the Krishna. So if that element is missing, that will create a pride. And in case we feel that yes, I'm so beautiful that I'm a Miss Universe, then it is that beauty is because of the Krishna, then pride will and ego will not come into the picture. If I'm earning a money and then money, I'm saying that that money is because of the knowledge or acumen God has given me, then I put in to the business and got that money. So that will not create a pride. So if we could not relate it to the power or connection with the Krishna, then pride will be fatal for us.
Okay. Yeah, nice. Very nicely explained. Jyoti Mataji is also saying that everything is done by self. When one comes to the conclusion that everything is happening because of me alone, and one de-recognizes role played by Krishna in our life, then then whatever one possesses, one has every reason to be proud of that. And then there's no need for them to surrender to Krishna, to be thankful to Krishna. And so it is de-recognizing role by Krishna, role played by Krishna, that becomes that gives us pride. And nirmana moha. Mana is nirmana moha jita sanga dosha. So that's a so the false prestige comes from such pride, and which is which is due to the lack of knowledge, which is basically is a result of agyan. And when one is in agyan, this is what one possess, and that's what makes one binding. That's what one binds himself into doing the action and not surrender. That prevents one from surrendering to Krishna. Illusion, the illusion. Can somebody explain how illusion is stopping us from surrendering? If we are illusion, what kind of illusion that we all possess?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, illusion means in our material world, we think that whatever we are enjoying is a permanent thing, and it is forever, and it is our life is very beautiful over here, and we can continue to enjoy in this material world. That is illusion, and that illusion will keep us entangled in this material world, life after life. As we have seen the case of Indra, where he was there as a pig and enjoying everything, and lost memory and thought of this world is beautiful for him as a pig.
Okay. So basically, yeah, anybody else wants to say something on this point? Illusion?
Prabhuji,
Hare Krishna.
illusion is a false perception that a person has got.
Illusion is false perception that one has got, that one
One
will
has got.
be, yeah, that one will be able to enjoy in this world.
Enjoy in this world.
Yes, Vikasji, you want to say
Hare
something?
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
So basically, as you mentioned just before in the previous questions answer, that there is no knowledge of Krishna, that my connection is with Krishna. That is why we are always in the illusion that this bodily entity is everything. And when we don't come above this, that above this bodily entity, soul also exists, then we are in the illusion that I am the proprietor of whatever is in my possession, and I am the enjoyer of whatever I am getting out of this. So we don't get firmly fixed that the things happening around or are coming in my possession is because of the supreme, some personality who is controlling this whole lot of world. So this the not having the knowledge about the creator of the universe and our connection with him, and being only solely on the bodily platform, is the basis of this illusion that and not this is an illusion, and then we don't intend to go towards the supreme personality of Godhead, since we are not in the knowledge of him only. Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Kumara Prabhu, you want to say something?
Prabhuji, that actually when I get a word illusion, that I got one example, that we search water in the desert. That is the mirror. That is an illusion.
Very perfectly described, Prabhuji. Very nice. Thank you so much for sharing. So seeing water in desert is like illusion, and similarly we are in illusion of searching for happiness in this material world, even if all our attempts fail, and but we still, the asha pash is so strong that we keep chasing that mirage or that oasis. Very nicely described, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So that's illusion. The Adhyatma Nitya. Adhyatma should result in learning about Nitya. Nitya is what is eternal. So Adhyatma should actually help us distinguish what is eternal, what is temporary. Adhyatma should teach us, or the study should teach us what is ultimately the ultimate goal of our life, and that is Krishna. Krishna is a spiritual world. Adhyatma should point us towards spiritual and we know that the material rest of the world is not really giving us this knowledge. So any knowledge which does not speak about Krishna, which does not take us closer to Krishna, which does not glorify Krishna, is a false knowledge. Ultimately, everything should be used in the service of Krishna. Sensing the material world is an illusion. Yes, that's correct. Illusion is just like a movie shown to us wherein we serve our senses. Yeah, that's also a nice way of looking at it, because it's not, our senses are not being actually pleased, but the because of the association with the character, we feel we are happy, we are becoming great, we are becoming sad, we are becoming happy, we are fighting, but actually nothing is happening with us. So our senses remain, the soul remains unsatisfied, whereas the our association with the body, that's in the movie screen, that gets its nourishment, but our soul remains hungry. And then vinivritta kama, that being free from material lust. Then dvandver vimukta sukha dukha sanye. Dvandver vimukta, dualities of happiness and distress. How can one become free from dualities of happiness and distress? Because this is a precondition to be able to surrender to Krishna. By what knowledge we can become, we can remain even, or we don't have to really get entangled or get too much agitated in the happiness and distress, both. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So the knowledge of Krishna and implementing it in our life, actually, Prabhuji, means a knowledge about Krishna and being Krishna conscious in whatever activities we do or whatever possessions we have, and then it won't be the like if something is coming, we won't be very happy, and if something is going or the things are not turning out as per my desire, it won't be mattering much. So it is only about that knowing that my soul entity is of Krishna's, that I belongs to Krishna, and if we will be in that mood through, and that is possible, as Srila Prabhupada says, that through devotional processes it is possible. It is a gradual effort, but it is possible. And once we come to this conclusion, we become free from the duality.
But it's very natural for us to become happy. So what should be even our mood? Something nice happens.
Then it can be offered that this result has come. It is not solely because of me. I was made medium as.
Okay.
Yes, Praveen.
Yes. Okay. Anybody else wants to expand on this?
Or a little bit more, we can go like Prabhuji, like whatever result is coming, we can offer that result to Krishna, that this is because of your approval it has come to me. And when the miseries come in the life, we can just contemplate, like the pure devotees explains that that actually it was meant to be more and more, but because of the mercy of Krishna, it has been very little. So in this way, we can also remain content in the even when we are passing through the miserable phase of life.
Okay. Anybody else who
Hare
has
Krishna,
experienced happiness, distress, wants to say something more?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhuji, in materialistic world, or when we talk about happiness, one feature always comes about happiness is very subjective in materialistic world, because whatever materialistic gains you are having or you are trying to satisfy your senses, it is so subjective and dependent on the environment and things around you. So in real sense, for any devotee, if we are associated with Krishna Bhakti, probably all our senses are towards one particular goal, that is to achieve, lotus feet of Lord Krishna, go back to Lord Krishna. And that ultimate goal, I think that is not subjective. It is not at all subjective, and one who tries to attain that will be always happy, and there's no comparison to that. That is what I perceive. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Yes. No, that's also another way of looking at it. But as we go through our life, now this we are talking about a devotee who wants to surrender to Krishna. One has to become free from dualities of happiness and distress. Now, dualities means the happiness comes, I become happy; distress comes, I become sad. Now, there will be situations which will bring these experiences, emotions to us. So how can one remain aloof? How can one remain unaffected by them? That's the question. Jyoti Mataji was, yeah, and yes, some of these answers are given. They are also right, pointing us to that direction. As long as we are attached to the material world, we will experience distress. That's also true. But how should, but, and that's because we will have that, say, whatever be our lifespan is, there will be situations, conditions. If I pass in some examination, naturally I will feel happy. If I get a promotion in my office, I will be happy. If I don't get promotion, my neighbor get promotion, I'll be distressed. And so on and so forth. Somebody in my family passes away, I feel distressed. Somebody any loved one suffers accident and is diagnosed with terminal disease, I feel distress. And those, like, these are day-to-day events which are happening in our life. How should we be free from dualities? We are bound to experience these we're bound to take these experiences. So how should we remain how should we remain unaffected by them? By serving Krishna, remembering Krishna in every way, by doing
Hare Krishna,
devotional
Prabhuji.
service. Yes, Prabhuji.
Think having some bhav in all the situation, and not attached to the happiness, not attached to the distress, and keeping our senses engaged to the Krishna in all the situation of distress and happiness. So somehow is the way where we can be a situation where we are not be affected by these things.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
phenomenal.
Let me see if somebody else wants to speak who has not spoken. We have many speakers. So let's
Sure,
give
Prabhuji.
opportunity to anybody who wants to speak. If not, then you can speak, Prajit. Anybody wants to speak? Please unmute. It's an open forum right now. Yeah, Vikas Prajit.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So in addition to that, what we discussed or what means I express my opinion, it is like we can always take the guidance of our senior devotees who can actually rightly situate us on that how to express your feelings and how to become more and more determined in such kind of situations. So that becomes a practical, that is, that becomes that how we can practically implement in our life the directions that when we are distressed or when we are in the happiness mood, how to be equipoised in those situations.
Thank you so much, Roji. Savinay Prabhuji has written something very special. I'll read out. By accepting everything as Supreme Lord's will and sanction, everything. And so this is how we can remain happy, equal in the happiness and distress. Be it good or the bad or the ugly event that occurring in our life, nothing can happen in our life without sanction of Lord, without the will of the Supreme Lord. And this is when we know that perfectly, when we are convinced of this fact, we will accept everything as the will of Lord. So in the conversation between when Bhishma Dev and Yudhishthir, when Yudhishthir seek guidance from Bhishma Dev, when he is Shoka, so Arjuna's bewilderment was moha, that compassion and moha for his loved ones, and which he could overcome by the message of Bhagavad Gita. But after the war, when Yudhishthir was affected by shoka, shoka is the lamentation for the loss of his loved ones. He could not be pacified even by Lord Krishna, or maybe Krishna didn't wanted, or Krishna wanted him to hear knowledge from the Bhishma Dev, and then get satisfied, and therefore he inspired Yudhishthir to go to Bhishma Dev and seek guidance in presence of Lord Krishna himself. So in his presence, Bhishma Dev speak this, that now you are under the shelter, you are Dharmaraj yourself. You cannot do anything adharmic. Then you are also under the shelter of Brahmanas. Brahmanas, those are considered to be the pure devotees of Lord. So they have given you their shelter to you. And thirdly, you are under the shelter of the Supreme Lord himself, the one who's standing behind you, one who was Parthasarthi, one who you consider to be your Mamera Bhai or some cousin brother, is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you have no reason to face distresses in your life, because anybody who is adharmic should face distress. Anybody who is offended Brahmanas, they should get distress. And anybody who has offended the Supreme Lord, they should get distress. And you did not do any of these three. And yet, one after another, you faced lots of reversals, lots of situations of distress in your life. And he says that it's all can happen only because of the will of the Supreme Lord. There's no other reason for it to happen in your life. And when it is the will of the Lord, you just accept it and tolerate it, and accept it, do it, tolerate it as a service to the Lord also, so that there is nothing more that you can do about it. And as long as it could be part of plan of Lord which you are not able to understand right now, so eventually you will figure out, eventually you will become glorified, you will get glorified all over the world for all the qualities that you demonstrated. And that's how That's the explanation how one can remain unagitated even in the happiness and under distress. So Yudhishthir Maharaj was then offered a kingdom and then he ruled. Prahlad Maharaj was offered kingdom, the unrivaled kingdom of the whole planet, and he was ruling that kingdom. So it's a matter of great achievement for somebody, for a materialistic person, but he accepted it as a will of the Lord. And Yudhishthir Maharaj similarly went to forest for 13 years, and he accepted that also as the will of the Lord, because whatever, they were never distressed, even though externally they were in a distressful situation condition, but they were always remembering Krishna. They were always happy. Even during those 12 to 13 years of forest, they were always remembering Krishna. They were always in association of Krishna. And eventually they were glorified for all their qualities that they demonstrated throughout their life. Even today they are glorified. So what is the plan of Lord in a particular situation is not to be comprehended by us. So at times we may not even be able to, even those like Pandavas also will not be able to understand, will not be able to escape the distressful condition. What to speak of us who are not Nitya associates of Lord, who are products of our own karma, who have taken birth not as an avatar, who have come here because of our past karma, who are attached to doing fruitive activities, who are attached, who have unlimited desires for sense enjoyment, unlimited desires to achieve more. What to speak of us today? We got connected with Krishna and the Krishna consciousness philosophy, and for us, everything will happen with the sanction of the Lord. And as Vikas rightly said, at times, if we are able to attract some mercy of devotee and Lord, then whatever distresses will come to us will be minimized. It will be a punch with a velvet glow, so that the impact is not as hard as it otherwise could have been. So now these are the qualities that one must possess in order for one to be able to surrender to Krishna. So one comes here and stay. Prabhupada says that the surrendering process, the first qualification is one is not deluded by pride, because the conditioned soul is puffed up, thinking himself to be the Lord of material nature. It is very difficult for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he is not Lord of the material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord. And when one is free from delusion caused by pride, one can begin the process of surrender. Pride is due to illusion. The illusion is when one comes here, stays for a brief time, and then one goes away. He has the foolish notion that he is the Lord of the world. Somebody could be a president of America, somebody could be prime minister of India, and we see that they are there for 5 years, 10 years, 4 years, and then they go away, and a new prime minister of India comes, new president of India comes, a new president of America comes. But president of America may think that he is the most powerful person in the planet Earth, and with one, if he becomes displeased with somebody, he can destroy that person or that city or that country by click of one button, and with very little resistance coming from rest of the world. So but one so so one can get into this kind of a illusion that one is like God himself, and thus make all kind of but 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 all this is happening within a short span of 4 year, 5 year, 10 year, or even if somebody is there for 20 years, 30 years, or for a whole lifetime also, their lifetimes are counted, their life is counted, it's not unlimited, and they are not going to have an eternal life. But one behaves and act in this world as if he is going to live eternally. Thus, he does make all things complicated, and he is always in trouble. The whole world moves under this impression. The whole world moves under this impression that everybody is acting in a way as if they are they are not going to die ever. And that's true because the soul actually has this understanding that he cannot die, and that's real. That's reality. But the body that he has acquired has to die. And that is the crisis that soul experiences, that when I am eternal, why my body has to change? I should also have a body which is eternal. And that's a desire that soul possess, and soul is always searching for that option, how to make my current body eternal so that I don't have to die. But that's not going to happen. And that's the problem in this world. That's the trouble in this world. People are considering the land, this earth, to belong to the human society, and then they have divided the land under false impression that they are proprietors. One has to get out of this false notion that human society is the proprietor of this world. Now, this is applicable to the boundaries of the countries, Russia invading Ukraine, and somebody else, trying to win some other nation, and so on and so forth. Everybody think this is their land and they are the owner of this land. But whereas Prabhupada makes a far larger point that Krishna is the owner of this land, and you are all temporary users of this land. You are caretakers to the most. At the best, you are caretakers of this land, and hence you should not act like proprietors of this land. And when you do act like that, you get into a trouble. When one is freed from such a false notion, he becomes free from all the false associations caused by familial, social, and national affections. so the so all the three, Prabhupada puts them into one bucket: the family, society, and the nation. One could be very Deshabhakta, one could be very caste, or the social animal, or social, very proud of our social status, or one could be attached to one's family. Everything will lead one to trouble. Now, these faulty associations bind one to the material world. Because that's true, because today you probably are Hindu. You say, I'm proud Hindu. And the next birth you can become a Muslim. You can be born in a Muslim family and then become proud Muslim. Today we may hate Pakistan as a country, but next birth we may get birth in Pakistan and may start hating India as a country. Today we consider human stool, to be abominable, and we flush it the moment it is past. And next birth we may get a dog's body, and we may get attracted to the same stuff. So so this association is faulty. Yeah, sorry about that. After this stage, one has to develop spiritual knowledge, and one has to cultivate knowledge of what is actually his own and what is not of his own. And when one has and when one has an understanding of things as they are, he becomes free from all dual conceptions such as happiness and distress, pleasure and pain. He becomes full in knowledge, and then it is possible for him to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada again propagates cultivation of real knowledge, that what is actually his own and what is not of his own. And when one has proper understanding of that, then one can come out of this uh, happiness and distress situation and pleasure and pain situation. In that full knowledge, then one is able to surrender to the Supreme Lord. We'll summarize. The material world we live in is a reflection. For for a reflection, there is an original object also that exists, which will be described in the next section of this same chapter, where Krishna will actually describe how that original object looks like, and it is exactly opposite to what the reflection is. The reflection requires a sun to illuminate, and that Krishna's abode is na tad bhasata suryo na prakasho na pavakaha. So there is no need for any sun to illuminate that planet. Now the sun, moon, and air is there, but or fire is there, but it's not required there. Yad gatvana nivartante tad dhama paramam mama, and many other beautiful verses will come in the next section of the same chapter. But so that is a contrast. So that is a reality. This is a reflection, and one must get convinced from our experiences that this world is not all our efforts for enjoyment in this world will be ultimately defeated. So we will never be able to enjoy in this world. We will never be able to control this world, because this world doesn't belong to us. We don't belong to this world. The world is owned and controlled by Krishna, and it's created by Krishna. It is maintained by Krishna. It will be destroyed by Krishna, and it is operating, functioning under the influence, under the instructions of Krishna as well. So we may have small control, but we will never be able to exercise complete control over this world. And all our efforts of enjoying this world or controlling this world will be ultimately defeated. So what should one do? One should focus not on the reflection but on the original object. What is that original object? One should search for that original object and then surrender to that original object. By detachment we can uh, we can turn back to reflection and turn our back to the reflection and focus on the original object. So we can't have both. We often say that when one has to pursue Krishna consciousness, does one have to give up the material world? Now, material world we will never be able to give up completely as long as we are alive, and hence um, the functioning in the world will continue. And for that to happen, we will continue to utilize our resources that are given to us by Krishna. But our heart should be fixed, and heart and our eyes should be fixed on the spiritual world, on Krishna. And all our objective of the ultimate goal, that whatever we achieve should be offered to Krishna. And that way, even while operating in the world, we will actually live in the spiritual world. That's a simple change in the motivation can give us a big change on the side of the results. From scriptures and devotees, we can easily understand that original person is Krishna, and eternal blissful dham is our original home. And with this knowledge, we must surrender to Krishna and use one's lifetime to serve him lovingly. Now this will help us attain Krishna at the end of our life. So the facility for hearing and chanting, take vows, take more, chant more, hear more, while we circulating few things which we can hear during the month of Kartik. Learn Damodar Ashtakam and offer ghee lamp during the month of Kartik starting today. So many new things you can do. And so this is a bonanza time. sale time where we do small endeavors give us bigger results. So, don't miss out on this and make full utilization of this auspicious month of Kartik starting today. So we'll end today's session and we'll see if there are any questions which we can discuss or comments which we can take.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare
So-
Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
So, one of the devotee Pushkar Prabhuji, you already know him, and it was actually discussed once with him that whatever your queries are, actually they are automatically resolved if you are attentive in hearing. They are automatically resolved, and there are many examples of many devotees who realizes this, that whenever we try to listen to Srimad Bhagavatam or on Bhagavad Gita, the discourses, the automatically whatever the query is there, that is resolved. And that is why I hope that no one asks any question to you, or maybe they must be asking in person on WhatsApp, or maybe so. But the queries are automatically resolved because it is so nectarian that it transforms the life. And whatever topic you have taken today, it cannot be practically implemented at all throughout the life if there is no direction of the devotees available. Like, it is almost next to impossible that not to be happy when we get some kind of joyous moment and get lost in that happiness. And it is again the on the contrary part also, if we get the miseries in the life, we get drowned in the ocean of sorrows. So it is very practical, and we can see all around in our materialistic world that the people are just like that. But that is of no use again, means that creates again the problems in their life only. So it is because of the discourses like this you have given, or as Srila Prabhupada says, as you beautifully mentioned in between your lecture, that whenever we are doing some kind of devotional service, we are not on this planet, especially when we are all together in the spiritual planet itself. As Srila Prabhupada once was asked that how we can experience the presence of our presence in the spiritual world. So he explains that whenever you are in the devotional service and you are firmly in a determined way, in a very lovingly way to Krishna, if you are engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, you are at that particular time, you are in the spiritual dham only. So your discourses, your whatever sessions you take are just almost like that, that sometime points comes that it looks like that yes, it is the only bliss in the life. Otherwise the rest all is just wild goose chase, and we are living in the fool's paradise if we are not following the instructions whatever are given by Srila Prabhupada and beautifully explained by you. So it is always nectarian to hear from you all the discourses, and so many points through the discussions, through the elaboration you cover, that how it can be practically implemented in the life of fools like me. So thank you very much for your nectarian sessions, Prabhuji. Please continue doing that. And I pray to Krishna that whatever thought problem you have got he just relieve you from that very quickly, because otherwise it is a loss for us. Actually, we become selfish sometime, and in that selfish mood, I beg to Krishna that he always keeps you fit, healthy, and fine, so that we can always enjoy the nectar you shower upon us. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for all your kind words. So Vaishnavi Mataji, Vedashri Mataji, I think if we accept everyone around us as part of the Lord, then everything is happening according to the Lord's will. Everything is, yes, people around us are there because of the Lord's will. So the son we get, the parents we get, and their interaction. If we were to not have a very, if we were to suffer, we will probably get a son who is not going to listen to us, or a child who will rebel against us, and there will always be karshana, or or a sangharsha between the parents, asking him to study, he wanting to play, and vice versa. But if this relationship were to be very nice, conducive, then we will get a child who will be very obedient, very nice, and all the good qualities that child will manifest. We'll tell him once, he will study, then we'll tell him he'll go and play, and he will be very obedient and very nice child. So there will be times, at times, even our relatives are the relatives that we got, the closest family members that we all have, they all come with the will of the Lord, and they are all meant to give us either a distress or a happiness, and that all is so you cannot imagine the level of programming that has happened gone into the creation of this world and creation of our own self, creation of our social structure, our families and our children, our so it's a the amount of detailed work that has gone in is simply amazing. That just can, that itself, one fact itself can increase your appreciation for Lord many fold. That he's been programmer, he's been such a wonderful programmer all throughout his life, all throughout, and he's creating this and making us move according to his will. So everything is happening according to his will.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I know the time is not there. Can I ask a question or we can park it for the next session?
No, Prabhuji, you can ask question, no problem.
Yeah. Prabhuji, in our session, we mentioned that probably we are not certain about next life, what will be our next life. And you are saying that we may get born into some other religion, and that's quite possible. So my question is, if because of my karma, if I get into another cycle of life and birth, and if I get into a birth where probably I'm into other ethnicity or I'm following other ethnic or other religion, then how will I be brought back to this Krishna consciousness? Or I have to serve that life and again take another birth? Or how does that explains for me? Because in this lifetime also there are chances that you get reborn, and probably a hypothetical question, situation that a person who loses its memory, and when he regains his, when he when he's been taken care by some other person or he's been given new identity, then probably he loses all his memory. So in that case, how this person helps to get
So the two questions is, one is
attain
yeah, one is if one gets birth in another ethnicity, how can one continue performing devotional service? Because the rule is that that whatever devotional services that you have done, that are never lost. नेहा भीक्रमनाशोस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्व अल्पम इति अस्य धर्मस्य प्रात्रायते महतो भयात. स्व अल्प जितना भी थोड़ा सा भी अगर डिवोशनल सर्विस आपने 1% भी किया है तो you start from that 1%. That 1% is never lost. now how one can get access to this 1% in the next birth? If suppose one is born in, say, Saudi Arabia, where the religion is completely different, the orientation is completely different, but you'll be surprised that today, even in Saudi Arabia, Bhagavad Gita is available, even in Arabic language, which is translated in Arabic language. So even in Dubai, temples are there, devotees are there. Even in Pakistan, Rath Yatras are conducted. So with mercy of Srila Prabhupada, there's probably no place on planet Earth that exists today where you have no access to Krishna consciousness. So, so one is, there is opportunity. There will be devotees. There will be devotees. There are devotees everywhere, practically in this planet, and hopefully, we all of us stay Krishna conscious all during our life and also at the end of our life, and doesn't really have to go to that really experience what is the question is, but and are actually able to go back to Krishna at the end of our life with the help of all other fellow devotees and seniors and Lord Krishna himself. So, but even if one assumes that such a distraction happens, somebody gives up bhakti and becomes a pure materialist and falls down from the position that he has gained throughout by purification that he has achieved, one goes down and then still one has ability to come back, and Krishna has ability to work through in many ways in order to reclaim that devotee back. It is since the moment he started bhakti, it becomes Krishna's responsibility also to ensure that facilities are provided to this devotee so that he can come back to Krishna. So Krishna will arrange, Krishna has arranged Prabhupada to appear and spread Krishna consciousness in every continent of this world. And today Bhagavad Gita is translated in more than 70 languages. So there are ways and means in which the devotee can be reclaimed from wherever he has gone. If it goes to animal species, then he will have to wait for him to evolve eventually into the human form of life, and the moment he comes to human form of life, he can be contacted by devotees and reclaimed. Krishna will ensure that he is reclaimed, but it's up to us that we don't waste this opportunity, because the desire, the root is in our own mind, the what desire will cultivate, and according to the desires that we cultivate, according to our past activities, the modes which we operate, now there's something that's not completely out of our control. Now this is where our free will comes into play. Now we have a free will to really desire for appropriate things, and to associate with the right kind of people, so that we remain our modes of nature are predictable, are not at least going downwards, are not largely in the tamoguna, are in the sattva and at least in rajoguna, or some mixture of these two. If and some most of the time we may hope to be in sattva, shuddha sattva, for large part of our day. So these are ways, there are ways and means in which we can act and Krishna can act. And a combination of us, both of us acting together, is that Krishna is giving us intelligence by which we can come back to him, and we are performing our part with lovingly in association of devotees. So hopefully this combination will work, and Krishna as guarantees that it works. As long as we are desiring to go back to Krishna, Krishna is prepared to take us back to him. So so that way we do not really have to worry. But even if for argument's sake somebody falls down, he can still be reclaimed very easily today with the mercy of Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
I think we should, as a firm believers, should see that we are always Krishna conscious in our life and all the next lives also. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Yeah, may this be our last life and we go back to Krishna from this life only. And no need for us to be again come here again, because this is the area of Maya. This is foreign land for us, and this is where Maya Devi is prominent. So we are in Krishna consciousness now. We may leave that we may overcome. We may get Maya can overcome us, because this is her area. This is her strength. And as long as we are holding on to Krishna's feet, we are floating, and we can cross over this ocean of Maya. But the moment we give up those feet of Krishna and feet of those devotees, the moment we become on our own, that when Maya can struck us hard, and we may get just bewildered and overcome by Maya, spell of Maya. So it's not a comfortable area for us to operate. It's a foreign land for a spiritual spark, because this is land of matter and it should go back where it is a land of spirit. It's a spiritual world, which we will describe in the next Sunday session. But So we should not hope to get
Prabhuji, I
more
take
births.
this your blessing. I take this
Absolutely.
as your blessing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for that beautiful blessing for all of us and beautiful wish.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna. Yeah, Mili Mataji, you have a question?
No, Prabhuji, I just want to support the statement that you have given, that Krishna reclaimed their devotees. So the other day I went to a Dashera Mela, and there I saw a Sardar family, Sikh family, wearing tilak and holding Krishna's deity in their hand, and they were enjoying Mela, and they were taking Krishna on the round. So they also have been brought back to the service.
Hare Krishna. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and there are many such examples. I mean, all these so many examples that we see day to day. You visit temples, you will see somebody there who will say that they've been reclaimed by Krishna, how they were reclaimed by Krishna.
True, Prabhuji. Yes. If you permit, one more example is there, Prabhuji, from Pune temple. But anyways, if time doesn't permit, it's fine.
No, I think it's
And
we
there are
almost,
many.
yeah,
Yes.
they're almost at 115, 116. So if there are no questions, we can probably end today's session. And thank you so much for staying back late till 1:15.
At least you can allow us to chant one Hare Krishna Mahamantra for you, Prabhuji. Because of for your health and for your spiritual progress, if Krishna has given us such beautiful thing, beautiful association of yours. So I would request everyone to just chant one Hare Krishna Mahamantra for Prabhuji, for his health, for his spiritual progress, and for just enriching us with the spiritual nectar. Please unmute all of you, unmute yourself, and please chant one more. Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
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 Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Ram
Ram.
Ram, Hare
Ram,
Hare.
Ram,
Hare Hare.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavad
Thank you,
Pranam.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, brother.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very
Dandavad
much,
Pranam.
Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Thank you,
Prabhuji,
Prabhuji.
thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Mataji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna Keshav. Dandavat Pranam.